Okay, welcome everybody. This is Shelley Gladstein, and you've just logged on to Osteo Boston, and we're excited to have you. If you're listening and you're live, that's awesome. When our speaker is finished tonight, you may have an opportunity to ask questions to the chat. And if you are listening to it on YouTube, then thanks so much for getting on. And if you'd like to give us a thumbs up, we'd appreciate knowing if you liked the content. And also it helps us to select future programs. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to also. So tonight I'm pretty excited to welcome Nate Clark to the program. And I'm going to pull him up as I talk about him a minute. Nate is, I've been going to see him for about almost 10 months now, 9 or 10 months, something like that, Nate. And he started me off because I had an injury. He is representing Athletic Evolution, I might say. And they have offices in Wilmington and Woburn, Massachusetts. I'd heard about him from another member of Osteo Boston and the program, and I was very interested. We have had a speaker on this program whose name is Belinda Beck, and she's the original scientist on the study that did the Liftmor study, which basically helped people to understand more about bone density and how bone density could be changed by physical activity, weight bearing exercise of a stronger degree than is the norm. And so she developed something called Onero. And what they do at Athletic Evolution is quite similar to the Onero program. So in our search for finding something like this in the area, we were lucky enough to find this group, and I will say, I think having people that are physical therapists as well as strength and conditioning coaches, which is what Nate is, both of those made a difference. I hope I didn't take away your whole talk.
Not at all.
But thanks a lot for coming on, Nate, and I'm going to stop talking and let you take it away. Thank you for joining us very much.
Yeah, of course. What's going on, everybody? As Shelley had mentioned, my name's Nate. I am one of the physical therapists at our Wilmington facility at Athletic Evolution, Rehabilitation and Sports Performance. We started implementing this program, if you will, that is similar to or utilizes components of the Liftmor study as well as the Onero program probably about 2 years ago now. We've been fortunate to work with a lot of you guys over the past couple of years, and it is definitely something that we enjoy doing. Um, a little bit about myself. I've been a practicing physical therapist for 3 years now. I was a strength and conditioning coach originally. I ended up working in a physical therapy clinic and then going back to get my doctorate in physical therapy. So I've been around or involved in the field of health and wellness and sport performance for about 10 years now. So definitely have had a great experience so far. This is something that we've kind of welcomed into our clinic. Like Shelley was saying, she started off as a patient with me, and we were working through, a couple of different things. I think that one of the things that was awesome was being able to be a part of her transition into a more advanced program, which is something we love to see as physical therapists, especially if we're able to continue to work with our patients after they graduate, so to speak. I have just a couple of notes here, that we'll be kind of hitting as we go along. As Shelley had mentioned, it was actually very cool to hear. I wasn't aware of just how far apart you guys are actually located, and that this is something that's happening, across the states, which is really, really exciting to hear. We have been doing this in person, but we do online programs as well. At Athletic Evolution, one of the things that we try to prioritize is, catering programs to the individual in front of us, and again, utilizing some of those Liftmor principles, and using evidence-based practice both in physical therapy, but also strength and conditioning and sport performance. So these are all things that we try to adhere and implement in our own practice every day. So, Shelley, I don't know if you want to maybe talk about, or me to talk about a little bit about our like progression and kind of where we started and kind of where we went from there,
Sure.
or
Yeah, that would be great. Sure.
awesome. Yeah.
Do you want me to say
You,
anything about that?
yeah, go ahead. You can,
Okay.
please feel free.
So when I had, and many of you might know I'm a skier, and I never knew that you could have an overuse injury from skiing. And that's what happened is that I went to Colorado for a week and I skied every day. And by the time the week was done, I couldn't get my ski boot off. I couldn't even bend over to get my ski boot off. And I had some nerve damage, not damage, but some of the nerves got
Almost like an
more.
irritation of those nerves. It wasn't almost like a sciatic type of response. It seemed like.
Yes. And so they called it, when it first happened though, it was so painful that I would be like gripping couch. It was awful. But then it got better and physical therapy helped, but it didn't get me to where I wanted to be. So this is what I wanted to say is that I did the doctor's order physical therapy, and it did help me be able to have life skills. Like I could go grocery shopping and I could do an errand, but I couldn't go hiking or skiing. That definitely would be out. I would not have been able to do that at that time. And I was frustrated. And so I went back. The physical therapy order was over. And I went back and I found a physiatrist who was a pain specialist as a doctor. And I said to her, I don't want pain pills, but what I do want is another order for physical therapy. So she wrote me an order and I took it to Athletic Evolution because I'd heard about them from another member. And I started my journey uh, to facilitate that injury and then eventually to progress to what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that was perfect, spot on. I was gonna say, I feel like I entered kind of around the time where you were trying to transition from the you've been discharged because you can grocery shop without discomfort to, all right, it's time to take on, everything else about life, right? That we want to get back to. Um, so, and again, being a part of that progression is always exciting, and I think that it's principles from, the Liftmore program, and some of the things that are, you know obviously very beneficial for our bone mineral density, and development just specifically for the osteoporosis and osteopenia populations. But a lot of those exercises are very functional, and that's kind of a lot of what is preached in those programs is function, stability, balance. It's also as much of a strengthening program as it is. It's also a lot of what it has to do is based on balance and coordination and making sure that all activities of daily living are sound, safe, and secure. So um, we try to structure our programs specifically with our lift more based clients, in doing something similar to almost like a strength and conditioning session where you know we do a comprehensive warm up at the beginning, start on the treadmill, get a little bit of a cardio based warm up. And this is for, those of you that might not be able to make it to Wilmington, Massachusetts, but if you're trying to do things on your own and you have 45 minutes, making sure that you're getting a nice global warm up, getting the blood flowing. And I from there, where we'll take it is we do, some muscle activation activities. We'll do some mobility work, just making sure that there is good preparation that's going into what you guys are about to do in terms of strength training. So, more recently, I think with Shelly's program specifically, we've been implementing a lot of plyometrics, which that's that impact-based training that is very instrumental in furthering again that bone mineral density development and stimulating the bones in a way that's going to be beneficial for improvements over time. So I believe in the Liftmor study, they did, some pull-up jumps, and then they were doing some, hard landings. We implement box jumps, we implement depth drops, we do a couple of different things at our clinic and our program that are, keep things fresh, keep things fun. We want to make sure that, as much as it is supposed to be, kind of a serious matter and, and improving health, and it's also supposed to be enjoyable. So making sure that each session, when you come in, it's something that you're going to want to be able to do a few times a week. And we're hoping that you're kind of itching to get back in and come back and participate again. So, it's something I think if, for those of you who may have a facility close to you that you've been thinking about checking out, or were a little hesitant towards, we also utilize strength and conditioning coaches at our facility for these programs. So, um, you know, finding somebody who has a good background and knowledge base in, either strength training and sports performance is great. Physical therapists, also very, very important as far as making sure that you're, getting the initial evaluation and assessment that you need, taking you through kind of the initial steps of, you know, programming and, evaluating these motions that you're going to be performing over the next several months, making sure that everything looks sound before you kind of just get under a bar. So, I'd say that that's probably the most important piece to the puzzle, is just making sure that you find a professional that's going to do, a comprehensive assessment based on your, past medical history, what your maybe skill level is with some of these movements and what your activity level is like at baseline, and taking it from there. So I think that it can be intimidating at first, especially when we, throw certain exercises your way, but we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't feel that you were capable and under the correct supervision or the right supervision. It's always safe to be, participating in stuff like this. So I think that for me personally, it's been very, very exciting. And, I have definitely been trying to convince my mom to come over as well. So it's like one of those things where all the women in my life, I hope that they, take part in something like this, because I think that it's great. It's a lot of fun. The program is very, advanced, and it can be, but it's all about kind of getting in and moving and moving well. So it's been a lot of fun so far, and I've definitely enjoyed working with Shelly specifically, but everybody that's come in, it's been such a blast, and I think I saw Mary Ellen's name pop up
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I got an opportunity to work with her at one point as well, and seeing her progression over the last year or so has been amazing. So she's been kind of kicking butt, and I haven't seen her, but I've seen her lifting gloves at the clinic whenever I go over to Woburn. So
I know.
she's been doing fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I'm impressed with you, Mary Ellen. Um, so someone asked, are you thinking of doing some group classes at Athletic Evolution, either online or there?
Yeah, absolutely. So um the I think that the ideal um thing for us to do now, having gotten this going a little bit, would be to invite more of you guys into the facility, and try to get a group training class going. We have kind of a little bit of scattered participation right now, but we do have a couple of women who have been coming in and participating together. And I think that that always makes things a little bit more fun, right, for everybody. Um, and you can get the encouragement as well. Like, um, I will be, I first and foremost, number one cheerleader. That's kind of just how we do things. We're all your biggest fan whenever you come and hang out with us over at Athletic Evolution. But having the community, it's the community feel. Bringing in more people can always kind of facilitate even more of that community, which is what we would love to see. Ideally, we were talking about as far as like the numbers go and everything, 3 to 4 people I think would be ideal for us. I know in the Liftmor program they did 8 to 1 professional, but I think around 3 to 4 would be fantastic. I'm seeing a lot of things coming in here.
Great. Um, so somebody talked about, are they different, Woburn and Wilmington? One of them more focused on osteoporosis than the other.
I wouldn't say so. What I would encourage you to do is that if you are in the area, feel free to drop by. We love visitors. I mean, if you want to come check out the space, you're more than welcome to kind of check out what we have for equipment, get a feel for what the community is like, get a feel for what the environment's like. I will say that just based on the space, one feels a little bit different from the other. So if if you're in the area and you want to come check out the gym, please feel free to stop by. Just say that were maybe a part of this call and you were interested in the program. But we were more than happy to show you guys around, and give you a little bit more of kind of like the scoop on what it's like in each facility for sure.
Some of our population, of course, not only the YouTube people, but even on here, we have quite a big membership, and they're
Mhm.
from all over the country. They're all over the world, even. We have people in different countries. So I think that's why some of the questions might be about what exactly are the exercises, and does it involve machines, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Um, so I'm going to try and kind of take these questions here one by one. So the machines, um, we do have, we actually use more of like a cable-based system called Ancore. We also have free weights, but we also have resistance bands as well. So we use a different combination of things. And we also have barbells. We have trap bars, kettlebells, kind of everything that you could think of. We don't have more traditional like commercial gym equipment though. So for those of you who are familiar with like Smith machines or knee extension, hamstring curls, we don't have anything where you're stationary and utilizing a machine. It's more so catered towards either free weights or like freestanding exercise. Um,
Which I think is probably, Nate, tell me if I'm wrong, but that would probably be better in the long run for your balance and
mhm.
being able to, you know, have more autonomy over the exercises.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we think about it, the performing the exercises while in standing is going to require core utilization. So, maintaining balance and stability while you're up on your feet is going to be important. Um, I saw a question here, seems a little bit more specific to maybe um, who's asking, Madeline here. As far as the overhead lifts, being not great for your shoulder, you know, I wouldn't say that any one exercise is inherently bad. But what what is more, I would say, important is kind of again the initial assessment that's performed and deeming, whether or not an overhead press seems like the best option for you to be performing, and at what capacity you might be able to perform it. So, until we actually do an assessment in person or see the individual in front of us, we don't necessarily write off any exercises as far as the spinal compression and vertebral fracture, I think that, if we I know that a lot of people have come in with their DEXA scans, and we've been able to see, what their actual bone mineral density is at present. So there might be some exercises that aren't safe for some individuals, but for others, it might be okay to proceed. So, but I do know that, again, specifically, and one of the significant findings of the Liftmor study is that there wasn't anything based on the intensity of the exercises. And of course, this is after screening, right? And choosing the individuals that would be appropriate for the study, that the intensity at which people, resistance trained, and the loads that were lifted didn't cause any additional injury. So, um,
Wouldn't you also say that, with that was probably a good suggestion from the doctor, because he doesn't know she's having someone who will study the way you did when I was new and still look at
mhm,
my medical report, you know,
right,
so they don't know what you're gonna do. But I
exactly.
want you to just go ahead and do something.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, it's more of it can sometimes be more of a precautionary thing, right? You know, if they're unaware of kind of what program, somebody might be performing and they just assume that they're going to be going into the gym on their own, probably some exercises that they would want them to hold off on unless they were to be supervised. And I think that that's another critical point to mention about the study as well, is that, everybody was being supervised by an individual. So um, it was never, something that people would be performing on their own. And then I know that the control, which was that home-based program, was more or less like risk-averse activities that were deemed like very safe by the professionals who were administering them. So um, in terms of the assessing for readiness, so this one, okay. So the protocol in general, I think that what the Liftmore study did is it identified parameters for what's best to generate or facilitate the changes that were desired. So um, there's a piece to that puzzle where it says that for 2 months, a lot of the participants had to undergo, training for these specific movements to make sure that they were safe and they could be done effectively without, you know, poor form, so to speak, or for lack of a better term. So I can walk you through what my process is as a physical therapist when sometimes we're starting with people in PT before we transition over to the next part of the training. Um, a comprehensive assessment is performed, an initial evaluation is performed based on an individual's past medical history, if there's discomfort when they're training, if there's pain with certain activities or with sitting or with standing, we like to get a look at the whole individual before we just proceed into what could be a very rigorous training program for some. And that's why it's also important for us to have a little bit of background on skill level, what your experience is with participating in maybe lifting on your own or fitness-based classes, group fitness classes. We take all of that into account before we start to, put this program together. So, um, you know, the initial parts of the program may very well look like that control group where, we're doing a lot of table-based activities. We're not doing anything too crazy. We're more so like laying the foundation to make sure that there are a lot of muscle groups that are ready to take on this load and we're moving well before we kind of take that next step. You know, if our pain levels are high, we don't necessarily want to go and kind of, load somebody up a great deal. We want to make sure that they're progressing into this program in a good place before we just say, it's time to go. This is what the study says, so that, we're going to do it. So it's more so taking the time to, determine somebody's readiness to perform the activities. As far as the plyometrics go, there's a wide variety of things that we can do in terms of like low impact plyometrics or lower impact plyometrics before we kind of progress somebody forward. I know that most of the individuals that we've worked with so far, if not all, have had, DEXA scans over a certain period of time too, so we can assess change, right, and success of the program based on the fact that, people are regularly checking in and we're seeing real change instead of progressing things just based on feel. Um, the exercises we include in the program. So, um, and I'm hoping these are answering questions as we go because I'm seeing a lot more coming in. But an idea of some of the specific exercises we include in the program. I can give you from the lowest kind of end of the spectrum to the highest end of the spectrum where, um, you know, and I'm sure many of the people in this video call have heard bridges, clamshells, side steps, monster walks, all of that stuff, lateral walks, band stuff. That's kind of our low end of what we're doing. But you know, I've done it with Shelly before. Trap bar deadlifting is something that's included in the program. Dumbbell bench pressing is something that's included in the program. We do cable rows, we do bent over rows. We've done walking lunges. We do a lot of work in terms of balance and stability. We'll do some, stationary single leg reaches and we can make things more challenging. Sometimes we'll start on, firm ground and we progress to like an RX pad. There's a number of different things that we can do to progress the program or regress the program based on how somebody feels, how form is looked and being assessed. Um, and I was going to say, Mary Ellen, the deadlift number and the squat number. It was
Oh,
very, very
I need
cool.
to get going, Nate.
I know. Well, I mean,
Right?
with that deadlift, we're getting up there, though. You know that. We're gonna
Yeah.
get there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's there's a lot of things that we do. And again, I think that the one thing that our facility definitely emphasizes and preaches is tailoring programs to an individual based on, who they are and what they need. So, um, for Shelly getting back to skiing, there was a lot of things in her program and hiking specifically. We started with hiking. Skiing was kind of like the long-term goal, which, when you're skiing and powder out in the, out west. I've only done the east before, but it's a heck of a lot different out there. So I needed to make sure that she would be ready to do something like that. So making sure that we're tailoring a program that's going to, get her heart rate up, get her fatigued to a certain point. Like we need to hit that moderate level intensity. We need to hit that, vigorous intensity at times, for sure, to make sure that we're developing the strength that we need for some of these activities. Um, and then I'm seeing what takes place in the program. I've been again, I haven't really been able to experience or carry out a specific group training class for this program quite yet, just because of numbers right now and people's availability. But the program in itself, and I think I had touched on this a little bit, but just making sure that we hit a comprehensive warm up. We do more of the higher level activities, if you will, like plyometrics, before lifting. Um, and then we would carry out, series of anywhere between 4 to 6 strength training exercises, specifically with added resistance. I mean, our warm up stuff could technically be considered as strength, but I think at a certain point, for most people, those exercises become more of a warm up than it is like an actual challenge. It's just kind of preparing the body and getting those muscles ready. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah. And I apologize too if I'm
I
speaking
I
too fast.
personally feel like I've never been in such good shape.
Yeah, good. I know that you've been telling me that, which is great. It's great to hear because I mean, that's music to our ears too. Is it's like we hope that people you know, are doing this program and not only feeling like they're seeing changes in these DEXA scans, but can physically feel, the difference in, day-to-day activities. For some people, it's I've never popped out of a chair faster than I have, since I started this program. For others, it's like, I used to get really, really sore at the end of the day because I'd be working all day and I'd be on my feet all day. But now it feels like I'm, you know, I can do this. Like it's 8 to 10 hours on my feet and it doesn't really impact me the way that it used to. So um, I think that that's been one of the best things I think that has come from this is hearing things like that and people just kind of again kicking butt in the day to day, which is great. So and then obviously we've had some great outcomes as far as uh, the DEXA scans have gone as well. So
Yeah, mine got better.
yeah, right,
Yeah, I don't
exactly.
think I even told you that, but I had it done last week.
Yeah,
And
that's okay.
yeah, I
This
mean,
is a good forum to hear that.
yeah. Okay, let's see if there's any, um, are 2
Um,
sessions a week sufficient to improve bone density? Someone asked.
so based on that study, I mean, I think that there's going to be, a lot of evolving research that comes out about this just because it's been a hot topic for the last, 5 to 10 years. But, specifically with that study, I mean, I think they did 8 months, because they had mentioned, that 6 month period is where you can notice some real change. And they wanted almost like the insurance effect of, okay, let's do 2 extra months just to see where this goes. And they were doing twice a week for 30 minutes. So, um, you know, Shelly will tell you that sometimes I keep her a little bit longer than that, like 45 minutes to an hour. So I, uh, I think that 2 sessions is great. If the way that I kind of look at just training in general is that if you feel like you're not doing any resistance training right now, if you could implement 2 days, right, that's twice as effective as what would be baseline, which would be, 0 right now. But I think that 2 sessions is a great place to start. It really depends upon, again, what you would perceive your fitness level to be and what your confidence with, a lot of these things are. Um, if you can do 2 days a week, I think that that's great. And then maybe that 2 sessions turns into three over time. And maybe it becomes a real habit for you and you like to do things 3 to 4 times a week. But I think that 2 sessions a week, right, out of the gate is sufficient based on that program. So the intensity level is definitely I think something that needs to be, mentioned in that same breath is if you do your 2 sessions a week, making sure that you're challenging yourself to a certain extent, that you're, again, facilitating the stimulus that you need to facilitate, because they were pretty specific about that. They used percentages of 1 rep max and they, did a specific rep and set scheme. So I think that is where having somebody like myself, or a strength and conditioning coach, or a personal trainer who's done something like this before can be extremely beneficial, just in guiding your progress and making sure that you're getting done what you would like to get done for sure.
Someone asked
Um,
about the rebounding being good for bone density. Do you know?
yeah, I think, and I guess they can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I don't know if they're, um, is it like a are they talking about a trampoline?
Trampoline? Is that what you are talking about, a trampoline? I think so. Buying a trampoline.
I As far as trampolines are concerned, I'm unfamiliar. Um, but the main principles come from kind of like the ground contacts, and the force that's created with impact. Um,
Um,
I have a couple here.
yeah.
So I'll try and take it from, so I saw the assessing a prospective client one. I just want to get back to this one because it was a little bit higher up.
Oh,
and how our program may differ from the Onero program. Um, so as far as the Onero program is concerned, I am only recently familiar to the Onero program. The Liftmor program is what I'm more familiar with, but Onero, I'm if I and
it's the
I'm
same
maybe
thing.
yeah.
It's,
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
one is a study and it's the same thing, really.
I was gonna say because the Onero I thought there was like an online program that was offered over the course of 2 years, which would be a little bit different than what we do. But as far as prospective client assessment is concerned, and similarly skilled people and private sessions, so I think what I can provide Shelley with too is just what like uh a price point for all of the things that we do and what we offer at our facility specifically. So, um, if and I think that if people are more comfortable in doing, exercises or group-based exercises with similarly skilled people, that is certainly something that we can structure as far as maybe having like a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced group and seeing kind of what the interest is there. Uh, Shelley, please feel free to provide me with, any additional information that we get after this evening
Sure.
about, organizing groups and everything like that, because I'd be um, more than happy to speak with, all of the like our staff over at Athletic Evolution to facilitate that and make that possible if possible.
Great.
Um, so yeah, I mean, as far as assessment and everything like that is concerned, we can certainly categorize that too. And I think that again, it's kind of what everybody is most comfortable with. Um, and then private sessions, we do offer one-on-one training, and I can provide Shelley with again what the price point for that would be so that she can forward it out to all of you guys. Um, Similar program in Los Angeles. I unfortunately am unfamiliar with that area when it comes to this, but we also again um, through like video calls and online training, we might be able to facilitate something if you weren't able to find something out there in LA. Yeah, I saw the comment about Connecticut. Winthrop, that is a little bit of a drive. I would say, Elaine, whatever you're most comfortable with. If you would, same thing, if you have, a day where you want to come check out the facility, would be more than happy to kind of show you around and give you, just kind of the scoop on what we do and what things look like from day to day. And then at-home programs for clients. I think that at-home programs are definitely something that we encourage um, from everybody that's kind of had their start before they hopped into the more advanced part of the program. Um, you know, I've given out a bunch of home exercise programs, whether it's, well, I'd like to be doing 1 or 2 days on my own at home. Okay, here's a set of exercises that we can do. And again, it's all coming down based on assessment. What exercises look good? What do you have available to you at your home? What are you most comfortable doing on your own? So we kind of have those discussions um, as you go through the training just to make sure that you're feeling comfortable and confident on your own because I think that that's the one thing. I mean, my job specifically as a physical therapist, aside from all of this, is to make people feel independent and empowered to kind of get out there and do things on their own and feel comfortable. So if there's any additional exercises that you would like to be doing on your own, it's definitely a conversation we could have with, either your strength coach or physical therapist, whoever's, kind of leading your group session. Um, Carol, the program I'm referring to specifically, is that Liftmore and Onero programs we're just talking about. So there are a couple of exercises specifically that were performed. Um, their protocol followed four specific strength training exercises that were actually all barbell based, which again, I think is just awesome. I think it's really cool. But then it kind of gets down to kind of narrowing the funnel a little bit. So there are key components that we want to try and implement into these programs, but what works best for you? So if I were to do your assessment or somebody was to do your assessment, and you had specific goals that were, things that you wanted to do, as opposed to, not everybody wants to ski, not everybody wants to hike, but maybe there are some other things, that you would like to be doing personally. Well, that's when we kind of really try to tailor a program that's going to include exercises to best facilitate or best improve, your comfort level and your ability to do those things outside of the gym.
That's great.
Um,
Um, I might just say one thing. I thought it
mhm.
was really helpful to work with someone who was already certified as a strength and conditioning coach. And what I noticed goes on at Athletic Evolution is that I'm in there and there's a ton of these people come in that are athletes. And I'm, you know, if I went into a gym and I saw that, I would scratch my head, but I know what's going on because I've been there long enough that they're actually training people that are in college and high school to make it to the NBA and to, make it into the drafts. And here I am with my little goal of, making sure I don't kill myself in Colorado with my overuse injury. But, I'm treated just like the athlete that these people are. And I love that aspect that so I think one question keeps coming up is, if you live in, Colorado yourself or something, you're looking for a coach, I would look for a strength, someone who's certified in that. Am I right on that, Nate? Uh,
Yeah, so I
certified
mean,
in those?
I myself, I don't have my CSCS. I have my bachelor's in exercise science, and then I have my doctorate of physical therapy. But when I worked as a strength coach, you don't, in certain settings, it doesn't require that CSCS certification. Katie, who is certified. DJ and Charlie both have theirs as well. And then I believe Eric, who is our strength and conditioning coach at the other facility, also has his. So we have specifically for physical therapists, two strength and conditioning coaches, and then the rest of our staff. I think we're gonna have another strength coach this summer as well, who is just completing their master's degree. So everybody, you know, I have a lot of experience as training as an athlete, but also when I was going to school, that's when I was being a strength and conditioning coach, but only certain settings. It's mainly either professional sport or higher Division I level strength and conditioning gyms where they require you to have like a CSCS. So
Okay, but they're very strong background.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I went to school for initially, but I ended up just kind of really enjoying the rehab aspect of athletic performance. And I I had a lot of great mentors at the clinic that I worked at as an exercise tech. So in between my time in my undergrad and then going back to school, I worked at a PT clinic for 2 years, kind of doing administrative stuff, but also working as an exercise tech and helping those physical therapists out. And that was kind of where, my love for it blossomed just because I saw what they did every day, and I was like, this is these are the people that I would like to be. You know what I mean? So that was kind of what really drove my decision to end up going back to school.
that's great. Let's just take a couple more. I don't want to take your whole night, but I
Yeah, no
appreciate
worries.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Um, Karen, I'd be more than happy. I think I'm pretty sure Shelly has almost all my contact info. She has my email. I'd be more than happy to speak with anybody who's, trying to replicate something similar in Connecticut. Um, and if they have any questions for me on things that we're doing, I would be more than happy to kind of walk them through just what we've been implementing, and where to go from there. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking too. Also, I saw the message again from Karen down here. Liftmor is the research study, and then Onero is the program that she designed
Yes.
thereafter. So that's what I was could the Onero program is like a 2-year program, and I think for anybody that might not have immediate access, it would be worth looking into. Just because it I know that they offer it online. Um, but again, I think that having guidance can be extremely helpful if you're trying to figure out these things for the first time. So, um, but I was drawing from the Liftmore study, Carol. Um, Anything in the Orlando, Florida area? I don't know. I think that might be if there's anybody in the chat familiar with that area. Um,
I'm sure.
a T-score that makes me super nervous to work with. Not necessarily. I think that you know, realistically, um, we're trying to cater exercises that are going to be safe and specific to the individual. So if there was anything, that we were just trying to be more cautious of, then um, we would be sure to kind of, ease our way into things like that. And again, by tracking the DEXA scans and making sure that everything is progressing appropriately, that's when we would be able to kind of up the ante a little bit, if you will. Um, Rest days are important, and rest is important during your workouts. Sometimes I have to remind people of that. I The swimming is tough too. Cross country skiing is also brutal. My goodness. Um, yes, and Mary Ellen just kind of supporting
Yeah.
that the lift more for each individual there. Um, oh, Carol, you're near Woburn. Great. I was gonna say, if anybody is located near Woburn or Wilmington, um, I'll pop both of the addresses to our clinics in the chat here.
Oh, that would be great. And
Yeah.
I just want to also say that um, the when we had Belinda Beck here, she was from Australia. She teaches at Queensland, and
Mhm.
her whole program came from. While you're doing that, I'll just say the Liftmore study came from a client who had gotten amazing results by helping. She was um, a weightlifter, and she
Mm.
was having amazing results herself on weightlifting. And then she introduced a group of people to doing weightlifting as a way to improve their DEXA scan. And then she came up with an idea of actually putting a study together to test it. And the Liftmore study came from that. And then the Onero program came from her narrowing down that to 4 exercises that you were talking about, the lifting exercises. But what I want to say about athletic evolution is I don't just do the 4 exercises. Nate is also helping me to become very good at biometrics. Is that what balance? Am I saying the right word?
So the balance stuff is more so like proprioceptive work,
Okay.
but plyometrics is the more like impact based training that they also included as part of the program.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's the plyometric work. So when we do like Shelly and I have been doing some band assisted jumping. We've been doing um some squat jumping. We've been doing, I don't know that I've rolled out the agility ladder with you, but that is something that I've included in other sessions as well. Um, and then,
Squat,
um,
do a lot of squats.
yeah, squats for sure. Um, to utilize all the various weightlifting they did in the Liftmor study. Yes, for sure. Um, we, and again, we try to facilitate um, every exercise. And again, we try to adhere to that 5 by 5. Um, but also, you know, making sure that the program is well rounded and that there's also some accessory lifts going on, because if we have that 45 minutes to an hour, doing just those exercises and those exercises alone is great. But also trying to incorporate, some other things that you'll see um, in just a regular kind of almost like not personal training session, but when we think about what we're trying to achieve from a facilitating change in balance and stability and core control, we facilitate all of those components into the programs that we make for people. So um, balance work, plyometrics, strength specific training, um, and then also doing a series of other things, but just making sure that there's like accessory work that's also being performed um, to aid and assist in the progress that you're making.
Well, thank you. This has been
Yeah,
awesome.
great.
I really appreciate
I'm
it. And
glad that,
I will share with everyone your information. I'll
yeah,
send it out. I'll even put it in YouTube so that
great.
we'll get it all done. And I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us, Nate.
Absolutely. It was an honor to be here, guys, and I was really, really happy that I could do this and chat with some of you guys. That was fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of
All
course.
right. I'm going to stop recording. Thanks, everybody.